because you're having the likes of Jordan, Mohamed Salah, Amate, participating in their country, and this is a World Cup qualifier.
Yeah.
How big is this?
Yeah, it's quite a big blow to these countries, but we shouldn't also forget the impact of COVID on the national, or let's say worldwide economy. It's really impacted a lot of things, and as things stand now, there hasn't been any cure. We shouldn't forget that, and scientists are going up and down trying to do their best to at least minimize the impact of this virus, this pandemic to its minimum. This is minimal. Yeah, it's a big blow to these countries, but I wouldn't blame the FA, because even prior to this decision, we've seen in the Olympic Games, we saw North Korea move out of the Olympic Games. That's they had to abandon everything due to the impact of the COVID. And what could we say? There was nothing we could say, because they don't have control measures as of now. And it depends on the control measures you have in place for these people. And as we all know, the Champions League final was supposed to take place in Wembley. Wembley. But due to some one or two reasons, it was moved to what? Portugal. Yes. So we shouldn't forget that the COVID is still a major concern for the whole world. It's not just a problem for Africa or UK, or it's a problem for everyone. You understand? Now, Varane was signed by Man United just 2 weeks ago. He had to quarantine. He had to quarantine for 14 days. Now, after this international break, you come back. There's another international break coming on, I think, in October. It's not far from this one. So now you go out there. They allow you to go out there. You go out there, you come back again. You have to quarantine for 2 weeks. When do you resume training and get back to play with your team? They've factored all these things. It's not just a decision they decide. It's some people will say it's selfish though, but I don't see it to be selfish, because if you don't have the right control measures, you can't take that risk. It's a major risk. In Formula One, Suzuka in Japan, they were supposed to host it, but they said no, we don't have the control measures in place. We can't allow over 300,000 fans, drivers, and all that to risk their life. So they just cancelled it. It's normal. It's happening. Before the Euros, we saw countries, players being left out of their squads just because they came into contact with the virus. So I think it's the best way for them to curb this issue is not to allow them to go, because they put the players at risk. And we don't know how this virus is evolving. Day in, day out, it evolves. There has been a third wave just 3 months ago.
So what's of the country itself? I mean, they're going to lose their top quality players, because these players play in top, quality teams in the Premier League, and they're going to lose them. How big would they affect the countries as well? Because that's a World Cup qualifier.
Derek, it's a World Cup qualifier, but you have so many players. There's a national team, and you have so many players at your disposal. You have players playing abroad. You have players playing in the native country. So you have players. You have a whole lot of players. Even though we know the quality these players come with, we all know the likes of Salah. He's a very, very quality player. You wouldn't get a player of Salah's quality from Egypt, but there's a chance for you to explore too. You understand? If these countries have the necessary measures in place, I don't think the FA will come and tell them that, hey, don't allow we wouldn't allow these players to travel, because they want to play for their country. Every player wants to represent their country. But this is the case whereby you are putting the life of the player at risk. And coming back, you also put the life of the whole team at risk. This season, in the EPL, Arsenal had to play, they had to field a young squad. I think the average age was around 22, 23 in their opening game against Brentford. Why? Because they had 4 players yes, and that went against the team.
Even against Chelsea.
It happened.
Their highest let me say defender, which they paid for £50 million. That's Ben White.
Ben White had to sit out due to COVID. You understand? So it's not like they just came up with this thing just to weaken these national teams. No, it's just to protect these players themselves and their players and the clubs in which they play for. This season, I've come to notice that the FA do not want to postpone any game. They don't want to postpone any games.
That is
they could have postponed the Arsenal Brentford game, but they said no, we are not postponing this game. Let these players sit out and field any player you have. You have the under-23s over there. You have some
the likes of Balogun
playing and all that. And Arsenal fans were going nuts because they felt no, that's not right. And even later, their manager, that's Mikel Arteta, came out to complain. So this is what we are facing now, and I think we have to understand the FA. We have to understand the FA, because the FA has invested a lot into this. Players testing 2 weeks, 3 days before matches and all that. Fans testing, and there's a whole lot of money. There's a whole lot of money being invested into this thing, and we shouldn't forget that football. We love football, but the lives of these players matter the most.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. The life of these players matter the most, and that is the voice of Josiah, who done justice to the issue there related to the Premier League not actually allowing players to move away. So let me take you through the story that the Premier League released. It said that the Premier League clubs have today reluctantly but unanimously decided not to release players for international matches played in red list countries next month. The club's decision, which is strongly supported by the Premier League, will apply to nearly 60 players from 19 Premier League clubs who are due to travel to 26 red list countries in September international window. Thus follows FIFA's current position not to extend its temporary release exception for players required to quarantine on their return from international duty. Extensive discussions have taken place with both the FA and the government to find a solution, but due to ongoing public health concern relating to incoming travelers from red list countries, no exemption has been granted. If required to quarantine on return from the red list countries, not only would players' welfare and fitness be significantly impacted, but they would also be unavailable to prepare for and play in 2 Premier League matches rounds, UEFA Club Competition Match Day and the 3rd round of the EFL Cup. This period takes into consideration 10 days of hotel quarantine on return to England, but does not include any additional time that would be required to for players to regain match fitness. So it says that quarantine requirements mean that players' welfare and fitness will be significantly impacted, and that is Richard Masters, that is a Premier League CEO, who said that. So I mean, it's a big one. So it came down to say that club also discussed their dissatisfaction with FIFA's decision to extend CONMEBOL's international window by 2 days in September and October from 9 to 11 days. This places additional international obligations on players from that region to the determinant of their availability to represent their clubs. FIFA was urged to work with all stakeholders to ensure an agreeable conclusion can be reached on the issue. So that's what the Premier League are saying of players who are going to move. So they said about 60 players in 19 different Premier League clubs. Players are in the red list countries, and so they are not going to allow them to travel, because if they do, they have to come back to quarantine for 10 days, which you're going to miss the EFL. They'll miss 2 Premier League games, and also they could also miss a Champions League game as well. Having said that, we switch attention to the local front, where Kwabena Yeboah, one of the senior journalists we have here in the country, if not the best in the country, he's saying that Ghana or Black Stars should include the legend Asamoah into the team that will travel to Cameroon for the African Cup of Nations next year. And Razak Musbah, what do you make of this? This initiative that Mr. Kwabena Yeboah is saying
is not out of place. Is not a misplaced comment at all. It's I was just before we started the discussion, I was just making the point that even in 2014, when we were going for the World Cup, Stephen Appiah was added to the backroom staff of Kwesi Appiah, not to do anything necessarily, but to be able to give the boys inspiration because of the kind of person and personality he carries. When you have such a person in your team, because of what he's done for the country over the years, a lot of the young boys and even a lot of his colleagues are able to get some form of inspiration from him, and that will be able to encourage them to deliver. In the case of Asamoah, it's similar. Despite what he's gone through in the hands of Ghanaians over the years, he's a legend. He's a legend, not just a Ghanaian legend, but an African legend. And even at the CAF Awards, he was characterized as such, as a legend. And you cannot take anything away from him. He's our leading goal scorer as far as the history of the Black Stars is concerned. You can't take anything away from him. Of course, the only thing that has eluded him is a trophy. And he was clearly desperate to get that for Ghana. In almost all the AFCONs he won, he was desperate to do that, but he couldn't do that. And almost the last 3 AFCONs we went, this gentleman was the one who was almost always doing what was needed at the most crucial point. Remember that goal he scored against Algeria?
Yeah.
You know, in the what was the AFCON? Was it 2013 or? One of the AFCON.
Yeah,
fantastic goal, and he was the one who literally.
And on that day, he was, he was cracked down with the malaria.
Exactly.
But then he jumped off the bench to score that
goal. So
goal.
what John has done for the country is he has literally sacrificed. There was a time when, in 2013, even after he hit the post in that crucial quarterfinals game, you know, there was a time he even decided he would not take penalties again. His mother came out and said, "Mother said you should not even play for the Black Stars again," you know. And at a point he even resigned his decision, came to play for the Black Stars. This guy has gone through a lot in the hands of Ghanaians, and even now that he's not playing regular football, he's even willing to offer himself to the Black Stars if he is called up. He said he will do whatever he has to do to help the Black Stars in the event that he's called up to even play for the Black Stars. Of course, he's not able to do anything, but the point by Kwabena Yeboah that this guy should be included into the Black Stars, you know, squad in one way or the other, not to play necessarily, but to be there as an inspirational person, I think it's apt. It's not out of place, because what he has done on the African continent is enough motivation for a player like Kelvin Yeboah if he ever features into the AFCON squad, for a player like Kwame Poku if he features, for a player like even Joseph Esso if he features, and even for Jordan Ayew himself. Jan in the team, and you know, we see videos of them when they travel for their AFCON. You see the kind of environment he creates for the players, and now he's able to get all of them to relax and enjoy the game and get them focused on the game. He's an exciting character in the Black Stars squad, and I think having him to be part of the team, to go and, you know, provide some kind of inspiration or motivation to the player is not out of place. And Josiah was just making the point that same was done to Didier Drogba once upon a time in the Ivorian national team, where he was added to the AFCON squad just to go and motivate the players. Jan is a legend, and adding him to the squad to go and motivate the boys is not out of place. And even for CK Akona and a lot of the Black Stars players, they said this AFCON is one they've really mean to clinch for Ghana, and it will not be out of place to have Jan to be part of the backroom staff when they do that. Jan can help them.
All right, Jan can help them. Josiah, look at Jan's caliber and the sort of motivation he brings to the entire team. We even when he was a player for the national team, we saw how he leads the team onto the field of play, how he leads the team to or starts the Jama. You know, I mean, now that we want him, or people are of the view that if he's been included into the national team, he's going to help them a lot. But what do you make of it? Do you think it's a brilliant idea to have Jan on the team, or you feel if Jan also best into the team? Because we heard that Jan and also some other parties don't really click.
Jan and the team
don't really click. So
they don't click.
So you feel if Jan's inclusion in the
was
team,
that coming from the grapevine? Is that something that has been that's a fact? Is that something? Or
that's what I didn't mention. That's what I didn't mention. That's why I didn't mention anybody's name.
But when the captain was taken for him, there was an issue.
There's been an issue between Jan and another party, and now that let's say if Jan is being included into the team, would it be a good thing, or you think that they'll put everything behind them and then rally the team behind to chuck success in Cameroon?
I think it's a perfect opportunity. It's just a perfect moment for him to travel with this team. Jan comes, like he said he's a legend. He's a Ghanaian legend. Jan is not just a Ghanaian legend, an African legend, because I think he's the highest scoring African at the World Cup. I think he's one of the highest scoring players at the AFCON. He's a legend, and like he said, the only thing that eluded him in his career was a trophy for the Black Stars. Traveling with this Black Stars, I think, is a perfect thing to do. Sometime back we all heard, I don't know if it was true, that the camp of the Black Stars have been divided into two. That's the Jan squad and the DDIU squad for some time. Now going into this AFCON, if he's not even part of the team that's not going to play, the experience he comes with is a lot. The experience we all know Jan comes with, and like you said, you see, in 2006 when we first made our World Cup, we saw these players, the kind of zeal, the personality they come with, and you see, always.
But he was young by then.
He was young, but he still gelled with that team.
Yeah.
He still gelled a lot with that team, and that's
he was the voice of the team.
Yeah, and look at the experiences he has like garnered from that time, from 2006 to 2021. It's 15 years with the Black Stars. It got to a point he was our captain, and he was a fantastic captain. Yeah, he always sacrificed. He sacrificed a lot for the team. Now, even taking that aside, he's a good striker. He's one of the best strikers. During his time in the PL, we all saw him, what he did in the PL. He's traveled. He's played in a lot of leagues. Why can't you even go with him? Because aside him being an inspirational figure to these players, he's experienced as well. He can even be on the training pitch with the strikers to teach them a thing or two. We don't, with this crop of players we have, we don't have a striker of his caliber. We don't have it. We should be honest with ourselves. It's age that has caught up with him. That's why he's not being able to travel with us. But aside him being an inspirational figure, he's also good. Like we have Olele being the goalkeeper's trainer because of his experience. Same, we can have him train with the strikers and teach them a thing or two. Because he scored some of the most important goals in most of the tournaments we went against USA at the World Cup. He scored a fantastic goal. I quite remember against Nigeria in one of the AFCONs, if not 2010 or 2012. He scored a superb solo goal. He's just good. He's good, and this doesn't take anything away. It doesn't cost the Black Stars anything to go with him. It doesn't cost us anything. He should be part of that team going. And I can't agree less with Kwabena Iwa with what he said. In 2012, England went to the Euros with David Beckham, who has retired a long time ago. Why did they go with him? Because he's the top figure. We all know David Beckham and the kind of
as a player.
You understand? And these players respect him a lot. And there's the same with this, because the heights that Jan has reached in football, I don't think any of these players have gone that far. So I think it would be better for them to have this. You see, whenever they look at the bench, they see someone like Jan and they're like, no. Even if Jan wasn't able to do with all the success and everything, if he was not able to do it, no, we can do this. Looking at Jan, he scored 53 to 55, I think 53, 54, 55 goals for the Black Stars, and he's our leading top scorer. Yes, and I think that record will go some time before it's been broken, because we haven't had a consistent number 9. He started at a very, very young age. I think 19 or 18 with the Black Stars, and he's played for a long time. So I don't think it's out of place at all. It's a good decision.
I don't think it's out of place at all. It's a very, very good decision and a brilliant decision there that Kwabena Iwa is putting out there for the FA to take and embrace. If they're going to embrace it, it's time that is going to tell, because we are nearly there, almost about 3 to 4 months to have that tournament coming up.
You know, one interesting bit is that there are those who raise the argument of cost, that okay, adding him to the team is going to incur extra cost. Look, if you just add him to the team, and Asamoah can decide that, look, every one of my expenses I'll take it myself.
Alright, we'll come back to that and also talk about some other matters, but then two-time Paralympian Botsyo Nkegbe is on the line, and we'll be speaking to him after he was not included to take part in the Tokyo Paralympics 2020, and so we have the man on the line. Mr. Botsyo Nkegbe, good morning and thanks for your time on the Sports Cafe Show.
Hello, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on your show.
Great. Let's start off from how disappointed were you that you couldn't make it into the trip to Tokyo? You are one of the finest and legendary para athletes. So how disappointed are you to hear that you're not going to be part of the team?
Okay, I would say I see it coming, but I didn't know that the leaders, the MCC board, will make such a decision if they were thinking about winning medal in the Tokyo. The board decided, and the board said they have the power, and that power gives them opportunity to decide on who represent the nation, and this is the people they decide on. After some of us put in all the effort, making sure that we are in a good chances of winning Ghana first ever Paralympics medal. But The team has been there open ceremony yesterday. Today the event has started. We can only wish Ghana team all the best of luck. But I can say with the NCC decision, and that's their decision. So let's take it.
All right, but I mean, is it the board that decide someone to be on a trip, or I mean, how does the mode of qualification goes like? Because we feel that when you've done something at a certain point, then you end the qualification into the Paralympics, and so how does it go about? Or is it that the board that will decide those para-athletes to be on a trip to participate in such a tournament?
Yeah, what I know for the qualification, we have a 3 standard of qualification. We have the ranking qualification based on your performance during the year, and then we have the automatic qualifier, and you have participating qualified slots. The participating qualified slots go in the form of all the athletes who have faced in the year gain Ghana a participating slot. And based on that, the ICC will decide, okay, you have a chance of representing the country with 1 athlete among the best of your athletes.
Okay.
And this is the stand of Ghana. I was the only one who has made the high standard qualification mark, including the pool of myself, McLean, and Yusuf Anadu, the high jumper.
Okay.
I did an A standard, so in the exams like an A plus, and Yusuf did B plus, and McLean did C plus. So if you as an MCC board need to decide on these 3 to represent Ghana, I think if you were you know what to decide on.
No, but do you have any issues with the NCC? Do you have any issues with them?
My brother, that can be from the journalist to find out. But as I know, being in the sport for over almost 20 years now, I don't have any issue with any leaders, because the Samsudin administration is not the first one that I've worked on. With this, the 5th president we have got in the Paralympic history, which have been the sport for over 18 years to 20 years now. So whatever they have is their decision. But I keep up some that they make a decision based on the NPC board. That, to be honest, is not a decision in the favor of Ghana.
Great. Having said that, before you even your first submission, you said that you knew you're not going to be on the trip. And how did you know about that? After putting in much effort, training, day in, day out, and then you get to realize that you're not going on the trip. How did you get to know that you're not going to be part of the team?
I start sensing some politics, and I start sensing a power decision that people feel like they make a decision. So I was seeing those kind of signs.
From where? From where? Where were you seeing those signs from? Where was the wind blowing from?
My brother, this is where we are. The NCC came. You see the interview of after they did the press conference. They said they have the power to decide. So if they have the power to decide, it means that their power can go against people that they feel that maybe people who doesn't agree on some of their decisions or some of their making. So my brother, I can only say Botyo has been Twitter Paralympian, and if you miss out Tokyo, my focus now is next year from all African Youth Ghana will be hosting 2023 Paris. And my focus is in Cape Coast, Kano this weekend over the 10 regional cricket sports festival. The team just started. We wish them all the best. If the best that they have submitted, let the best be for Ghana.
But so finally, do you think that Team Ghana can go and do Ghana proud, and the medal they are looking for, which we've never won at the Olympics? Are you sure that this Team Ghana can bring that success to the country?
If I quote from the president Samsudin's mouth, he said they have got the best preparation and they are going there to win medal, not medal. So based on what they have seen and what they have put in, we can only wish them all the best based on what they themselves believe that they are going to win medals. We pray winning medals is the biggest achievement for the nation, and the world is proud of it. We see what happened in Samoteki, not only bronze, but it has been a beneficial for the nation and for all the teammates. So any medal that any Paralympic athlete might win is a benefit and a goal for the Ghana. But I would say the president is confident. So we pray that confidence will bring Ghana some good results.
All right, RAPHAEL BotsyO Nkegbe will say a massive thank you for spending time with us on the Sports Cafe Show. But we wish you all the best in your endeavor. What you'll be doing, and also in the All African Games. We also wish you all the best as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
All right, great. So there you had it from BotsyO Nkegbe. What a sad story it is. And I mean, two-time Olympian, Paralympian, and he's done absolutely incredible. And for me, I think that if we want to, if Ghana really needed somebody to bring a medal to the country in para-athletes, BotsyO should have been on the trip to Tokyo. What do you make of that?
It's sad. It's very sad. The Olympics, the Rio Olympics just ended, and we came up with just one medal. Just a bronze medal in boxing. Yeah. And then 2 weeks after, we are going to have the Paralympics, and you have such a guy, and you just decide that we are not going with you. For whichever reason, we all don't know, but at least for the sake of this country, where we haven't won a single medal at the Paralympic Games ever, and we are always pushing, we are putting in our all and all that, then you just decide that, hey, we are not going with you. Like, it doesn't make sense, honestly. And for whatever reason it is that we don't know yet, I think the time will come that we'll get to know. Because the medals keeps on eluding us. We haven't won any, and we have these boys who 2 times Paralympian, who is so much experienced, and you decide not to go with him. Derek, I don't even know what to say.
Zach, if you listen to what RAPHAEL has said, I mean, he's been training every now and then. I mean, having his sights of on the main tournament, that is Tokyo Olympics, Paralympics, and then all of a sudden he gets to know that he's not going to be on the trip. I mean, how would you feel? And put yourself in RAPHAEL Botsyo's shoes. How would you feel? And knowing that you could be the only source of clinching a medal for the nation, how would you feel?
Well, of course, it's disappointing. It's disappointing. This is a chap that has the experience as far as competing in the Olympics, Paralympics is concerned, and having had 2 opportunities at the Olympics, you expect him to be looking forward to improving on his game and going into this Paralympics believing that, look, when I think back at how I performed in the previous Olympics, in this Olympics, this and this is what I need to do to be able to improve and even get a medal. So to a very large extent, I'm sure he was hoping that this is the opportunity for him to get the medal for Ghana.
Because he said that they had to there were tests for them, and if you look at that test, he came up on top.
Yeah.
So he was very. He didn't understand why.
It wasn't even by merit.
Yes.
Whatever the test was
he was able to. He had an A plus, and the others had a B plus. So how come
someone with an A plus? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It all boils down to why they took that decision. We don't understand. But if we are going to look at how we haven't fared well in previous Olympics and Paralympic Games, I think this was a perfect opportunity for us to go with him. Yeah. Because he's experienced. Yeah. And that's the most important thing. Someone who has been there, seen it all, and he keeps on improving his game. Yeah. Like, so compared to the other amateurs, he came out on top. So that should tell you his strength, what his qualities, what he can give. Yeah. Then you just come up with a decision that we have the power. Like he said
the NCC,
they said they have the power to select who goes and who does not go. And that is where I can't fathom the whole thing. Yeah. That's where I just don't get why they have to come up. Because if you, for the love of Ghana, if you want this country to be successful in everything we do, especially with Olympics, we haven't done well in Olympics at all. Paralympics, Olympics, whichever, we haven't fared well at all. We've had a total of just 4 medals since the inception of, or since we first went to. We haven't chalked any great success in this Olympics. We only had bronze just 3 weeks ago. So go with this guy. Why? What's your decision for not going with him? That's what we don't understand. Maybe they have to come out and tell us that this and these are the decisions why we decide not to go with the ball. But I just don't get it, Derek. I don't know what to say.
He simply does not get it, and absolutely I also don't get it.
So I was trying to get a little information on the whole decision surrounding his exclusion. And yes, I got a few comments from the president of the what do you call it, the
is it the park or the NTC?
Yeah, the NTC. And if you look at what he said after his exclusion, he suggests that they received a letter from the International Paralympic Committee which suggests that according to their qualification mode, there was no athlete in Ghana that actually met that between 2018 and 2021, the performance of all the athletes relative to the very competition that RAPHAEL, the event RAPHAEL competed. No athletes met that. However, the committee decided that they'll give Ghana a chance to present an athlete, a male athlete, to go and compete. And the board, according to the board, now they had to choose between RAPHAEL and what do you call it, one other guy called Yusuf Amadou. And the board decided to take a vote on who they will choose, because in terms of meritorious qualification, the international committee said no athlete in Ghana was able to qualify to meet the qualification, but they gave them a certain room to be able to present one athlete for that competition. And the board now sat to agree on who will go, and the board voted, and the vote ended up that Yusuf Amadou should go ahead of RAPHAEL. And while the chairman was also explaining, he stated that RAPHAEL himself did himself bad, in the extent that there was a certain request that was made of all the athletes to come for camp at Cape Coast. And according to the president, he says RAPHAEL turned down the request to come for that camping at Cape Coast.
Okay.
But Yusuf Amadou actually went.
Okay.
So when the opportunity now came for who will compete at the Paralympics, the board now went with the person who
obeyed
their or accepted their request to come and camp. And that is why they went with Yusuf Amadou. And I'm sure that is where the problem between RAPHAEL and the committee started from. When they had the camp and RAPHAEL turned down the request to come and be at the camp and possibly train on his own, then the board felt disrespected, and for which reason possibly the vote went against RAPHAEL. Because clearly, as far as this competition is concerned, on the African continent, in the qualifying time, RAPHAEL has the fastest time. In Ghana, he had the fastest time. But clearly, you could see that this was the root cause of that problem. When RAPHAEL turned down the request by the committee to come for camping at Cape Coast, that is where the problem started from. And that is why when the board voted between him and Yusuf Amadou who should go for the Paralympics, they went for Yusuf Amadou. But clearly, if you needed any athlete, and I think RAPHAEL made that point, if you needed any athlete to win you a medal in that competition, it was RAPHAEL. He was clearly the best athlete to be able to win you a medal. But clearly, like he said, this was purely political, and people's ego actually being bruised, for which reason they decided to go with Yusuf.
We are not saying that what RAPHAEL did was the right thing, but then we've seen in so many cases that being a player or being an athlete, if they can go and do better in place of some others, whether or not what they've done to the nation or what they've done in the eyes of people, they should be, given that opportunity, because they are of huge quality, and they are people who can, bring success to the club or to the country at any given time. We've seen, top players disrespect their manager, top players disrespect their club, but then they still give them that. Go ahead to go do whatever, because they know that this is the man who can actually bring us, regardless of what he's doing. We are not saying that what he did was right, but then,
I think it happened at the Euros when England had some players breaking protocols and going out, but he still. I think the punishment was there, whichever punishment they had. I don't think this is the best punishment for him. He decided not to show up at the campaign,
but that's still train on his own.
Yeah, but he's good enough. So does that mean we know the fate of whoever we've chosen to go already? Does that mean we know our stand, that we are not going to get any medal, even though he's disciplined, he followed all the rules and regulations and all that? This is a player, like you said, in football it happens. We have stubborn players that managers have to manage these players. They have to manage these players. Very, very stubborn players who do not care about anything. But at the end of the day, we know how quality, what they bring to the team.
I mean, in 2000, I said Ronaldinho will be in at the club.
And
But then on match day, he's still been playing.
It's man management. Ferguson had to work with a lot of these athletes, and they're all athletes, and it happened. You know, some of them have ego, and you have to manage these things for them. Some of them are very, very stubborn. You have to manage it for them. So I don't think in the part of Raphael, I don't think it's fair. Maybe there could have been a fine or something, but denying him the chance to win Ghana a medal, I think he's our favorite. He's the favorite to win us something.
Yeah.
Yes. So going into this, I think then we all have to just fold our arms and just watch whatever performance
Ghana is going to bring.
Exactly, because we know he's the most experienced, a two-time Paralympian who is going further. He's just pushing to get there. Then because of the, and we all don't know. I wanted to ask the timeline when it or the campaign occurred that he failed to show up. Was it before or after? Yes, no one knows. Yes, so I think it's unfair. The punishment could have been something else, not denying him the chance to be in Japan.
And let me just read this out to you. So the Samson Dean, who is the the chairman of the board, he was speaking on Happy FM some time back, and he said, this is what in quotes he said, we wanted the team to camp at Cape Coast, which we had paid for, but Raphael wanted to train in the USA. He didn't follow our plan from the reports we had from the technical team. After the IPC had contacted us to select an athlete, the board chose Yusuf Amadou. Only one person voted for Raphael. The other 7 members voted for Yusuf Amadou. That was what happened. We must ensure discipline among our athletes. As an athlete, you must be disciplined. Let's advise the athletes to be disciplined, he added. And this is why Matabisa is not competing for Ghana. Another issue of discipline.
The board isn't being fair at all. This past Olympic Games at Japan, most of our athletes, with the exception of the boxers who are based in Ghana, most of them, the track and field event, the runners, most of them were in the USA training. They paid for their own facilities, whatever it is. The government didn't support them. You have someone, let's compare facilities. In the USA and in Cape Coast, Ghana, where will you find the best facilities to train with? Let's be honest with ourselves. And we are not in normal times too. We are in the midst of a pandemic where even traveling and all that, you have restrictions and all that. And you expect him to travel from the USA to Ghana to train. He has better facilities. We shouldn't ignore that. These are things we can't ignore. In the USA, I'm sure he has all the facilities he needs to. So this is someone who is pushing for a medal in the Paralympic Games and training there. We should even be happy that he's somewhere with the best facilities you can get and train with. But we decide that, hey, because you didn't travel to Cape Coast to train, then this thing, I just don't get it.
And funny enough, Raphael, while he was in the US, he was training with the United States para athletes. That's who he was training with. But according to the committee in charge of the para athletes in Ghana, they said they wanted all their athletes to camp at Cape Coast and go through the direction and supervision of their technical handlers. So every athlete who wants to represent Ghana ought to come to Cape Coast, whether you are wherever you are, whether you are being handled by the best in the world, come under the tutelage of our technical team. And if you don't come, meaning you are indisciplined. But I think, just like Josiah said, it's completely unacceptable and completely unfair to Raphael, because what he was doing, he was not just doing it for himself, he was improving himself for you people.
And even for
even them, if they had the opportunity to take all of these athletes to the US to go and train, wouldn't they have done? They would have done it. It's because of resources. That's why they're doing it at Cape Coast. So if he has the opportunity, courtesy sponsorship, and be even training with the US para athletes, you should be excited about that. And that even gives you a bigger opportunity to win a medal. And for your what do you call it, your sport, it will be credit to you. Everybody will benefit. But ego, the board decided 7-1.
Absolutely, that is not good enough, and that is not good at all for what the NCC did to Botsyo NKEGBE. Well, we were thinking that is our lifeline to clinch a medal for us in the para Olympics there, and that didn't happen. Let's see how Team Ghana will fare in the Olympics, in the Paralympics, which is kicking starting today. Let's see what happens. And having said that, big games coming up over the weekend, and we're going to have Chelsea entertain Liverpool, and also Arsenal will play against Manchester City in the English Premier League. I mean, Josiah, you take Chelsea and Liverpool, and then he will take Arsenal, Manchester City. What do you make of this game? Lukaku against Van Dijk. A big one.
It's going to be a big one, a very, very, very big one. And both teams going into these games, I think Liverpool won 3-0 in their first game. Week 2 they won 2-0.
Yeah.
Chelsea won
3-0.
3-0. They won again 2-0.
Yeah.
So I think they are par now on the log. Yeah, with 6 points and I think 5 goals. It's going to be a tough one. And considering the fact that Liverpool lost in their backyard against this Chelsea team last season. Yes, and it was
Mason Mount.
Yes, Mason Mount goal, and they came up with all the excuses that hey, our team isn't fit, we are having problems up front. But they've started well. Both teams have started well, especially Chelsea. We're all not expecting them to be where they are now, but I think Tuchel has done a very, very good job. And I think I watched the game against Arsenal last week, and I saw how he wanted to use Lukaku. Because he wants him to do the hold up play, drag these defenders, bully them, so that these players around him, Havertz and Mount, can have some spaces. And yeah,
it won't come easy because he's going to face one of the, the biggest defenders in the Premier League and one of the best defenders in the world in the last 2 years.
It's not going to come easy though. But we all know Lukaku and how he plays, and I think this Chelsea team are playing to his strength. That's one thing United failed to do. They had Lukaku, but they couldn't play to his strength. They couldn't play to Lukaku's strength. But this Chelsea team have made up their mind that they are going, and just like Inter deployed him, there's a 3-5-2 or 3-4-3 formation, and just like they played at Inter Milan, and he suits the system. So when he was coming, I was like, yeah, he's going to suit because he's the target man. Just all balls to Lukaku, and he's big enough. We all know Van Dijk is that strong, but I think Lukaku is just going to give him a hell of a time. It's going to be a tough one for them, but with the fans back. With Liverpool's 12, we know how important the fans are at Anfield. The way they can, their game. I think their first game they went away from home at Norwich, and they were so loud. So I can just imagine how they are going to be, how loud they will be at Anfield, and I think that's going to make a difference too. Because Liverpool missed playing with these fans, and last year they lost 5 on a bounce at home, which has never 6 on a bounce. And to teams which has never happened, I don't think in their history. Yes, it has ever happened. So this time around, I think it's going to make a massive difference, and they don't have any injury concerns to going into this game. So I think it's going to be a tight one, but I'm tipping Liverpool to win on the day.
You're tipping Liverpool to edge Chelsea on the day with Romelu Lukaku, £97 million. Still, he's tipping Liverpool to edge them on the day. But I would say that Arsenal, who have lost 2 games on the bounce in the opening day. It's never happened since 1997, where they rock bottom. They also lost 2 games on the bounce, and then they'll face Manchester City, who lost their very first game. Then Tottenham Hotspur, and then beat Norwich by 5-0. They entertain Arsenal at the Etihad Stadium.
Yes, it's I don't know. Look, you speak of Arsenal losing their first 2 games in a very long time in the Premier League, and it looks like it's going to be their 3rd game in a very long time. We have to then look for the historical, context of that very loss. Imminent loss. Clearly, it's going to happen. Look, Man City had their first game against Tottenham. They were shocked. They were beaten by Tottenham. They didn't see it coming. Then they met Norwich and showed why they were Man City, why they were the Premier League champions last season. They trashed them 5-0, and coming up against Arsenal, who are clearly not in the best of shape. Almost everything is going against them. They are I think arguably their top signing, Ben White, has contracted COVID and is not going to feature. Lacazette is still not available. Aubameyang just came from COVID illness and featured just a few minutes against Chelsea and almost could not do anything. Thomas Partey is also injured, and all he has now is always Xhaka, this Saka guy, and Xhaka maybe be able to get Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Clearly, everything is going against Arteta. And at the moment, if you look at the call from most Arsenal fans for Arteta to be sacked, and it clearly will intensify after the game against Man City. Look, I don't expect Arsenal to be able to do anything, but I expect Arteta at the very least to be able to get a draw. Because if he goes 3 games,
they've given him 5 games. If he doesn't perform, then he is going to be off.
It's going to be disaster. They are lying 19th on the Premier League table, and after next weekend, they are clearly going to be lying 20th on the Premier League table. It's going to look horrible for Arteta. And look, hopefully Pep Guardiola will be able to relieve it because he's his protege. Arteta is his protege, so maybe he might be say, my guy, I don't want you to lose your job, so maybe we can see what we will feed do. Maybe we can see what we will feed. I feed dash you some draw or something. But clearly, Jack Grealish is on top form. He scored his first goal for Manchester City at the Etihad, and he's definitely going to tear this Arsenal defense apart. You saw what we did to them when you met them. What Lukaku even did to them. Jack Grealish on top form, Bernardo Silva on top form, Gabriel Jesus, who have not even found his feet yet, looking to do some damage so far this season. Well. It's going to be disastrous for Arsenal. And look, I'm just telling Arsenal fans, please. If you have any cry, start crying, because on Sunday it's going to be horrible for Arteta.
That game is actually going to be on Saturday.
Early
kickoff. Jesus Christ!
The last time Manchester City were involved in an early kickoff, they lost to Leeds United.
2-1. 2-1.
I think Leeds United clearly are a different side compared to this current Arsenal team.
Let me. You see, with this Arsenal team, like.
We shouldn't forget City just lost to a London club.
Yes, that's Spurs at the London. Spurs.
They are just trying to assuage the impending pain of Arsenal fans. It won't work.
You see, this Arsenal issue, it's not about personnel, but it's about psychology. When you look at this Arsenal team, most teams are going to lose and lose and lose and lose if they don't work on their psyche. You see, the first game against Brentford, that was what their manager said. They look at this Arsenal team and how feeble they are. It's like they are not even physical. They don't give anything. That was how they were able to bully them. That's a team coming from the Championship that was able to qualify to the Premier League by what? Was it playoffs? That's a team that was even third in the Championship, bullying you. A Premier League club like us now. It's psychological. It's not just down to. It's not just about the personnel. They've spent the most money in this transfer window. They've spent on Ben White. They've gone in for Odegaard. Lasonga. They bought a left back from Tavares from Benfica. They've spent the most. But you look at this team and you are like, who is playing the game? You don't see any threat from Arsenal. Should Laka and Aubameyang come in,
rumored to even leave the club.
Exactly. Just yesterday there were reports coming in that Barcelona are interested in Lacazette. They are looking to make a bid for him, and Arsenal are willing to let him go for as cheap as £15 million. So you look at this team and you don't see any threats from anywhere. You look across the pitch, and this team would lose if they don't take it. They might even go ahead and lose.